I am Julia Ann Polias Magpusaw. I am your presenter and I am assigned to discuss with you the system development. It includes the different topics, and that is the hardware requirements, the software requirements, and the communication interface technology. It was stated by Zone Mes F and Abbas MK in 2017 that the efficiency and effectiveness of the information systems in many ways depend on its architecture and how data are transmitted among different parties. Similarly, a very crucial aspect in the software development is the security of data that flow through open communication channels. And we believe that one of the most popular architecture is the client-server architecture that makes the centralization of data, storage, and processing, enablement, and provide flexibility for applying authentication methods and encryption algorithm within the information systems. System development is the process of defining, designing, testing, and implementing a new software application program. It can include the internal development of customized systems, the creation of database system, or the acquisition of third-party developed software. So we can say that the most effective way to protect information and information systems is to integrate security into every step of the system's development process, from the initiation of a project to develop a system to its disposition. The hardware requirements in system development can also be a rule, or can also be an important part to develop a reliable data, support the process in client-server architecture, and also the result or the process or the output that is able to provide for the end users. The hardware requirements in system development in client architecture indicates or classify into different level. So the first is the PC level processing unit. The PC level processing unit includes the Unix workstation. The Unix workstation has become the workstation of choice for client-server environment on the basis of cost performance rather than functionality. The client Unix workstation supports the most popular application nowadays, and that is the WordPerfect, DBase4, and Lotus 123. All of these are examples of application that can be used in Unix workstation. The WordPerfect is capable of processing documents. The DBase4 is capable of accessing database. The Lotus 123 is also important for presentation of the graphics, or what I mean is the spreadsheet. Next is the X Window system. X Window system is an open cross-platform client-server system for managing a windowed graphical user interface in a distributed network. The main purpose of using X-Window system is to provide a windowed graphical user interface in a distributed network. Distributed network can be defined as a distributed or divided connection of computers that is able to share the resources and data. The X-Window client requests for display management service in each PC or workstation can be primarily used in the interconnected mainframes and mini computers. In X terminal is typically a diskless terminal special designed to provide a low-cost user interface for application that run in a network X server. In X terminal, it is especially designed to run an X server which allows the users to display the output of programs that are running on another computer using the X protocol over a network. We sometimes define the X terminal as a diskless terminal that are designed to provide a low-cost user interface for application. Next is the X server. The X server is a server of connection to X terminal in distributed network that uses the window, or what I mean is the window or X window system. The X server has the overall performance that handles all the interaction between the GUI and hardware used. It classifies and provides the following services. The first one is the window service, the input handling, the graphic operations, and the resource management. The X-Client server model on network transparency may function as one of the following. Okay, so this is include the application displaying to a window of another display system. Sometimes also a system program controlling the video output of a PC. And also the X-Client server has a dedicated piece of hardware. Another hardware requirements in PC level parsing unit is the light pen. A light pen described to us as a pointing device that can be used to select an option by simply pointing at it, the drawing figures directly on the screen. The next is the digital pen. The digital pen writes on a paper like any normal pen. So the main functionality of the digital pen include a tiny camera, some memory, and a CPU with a communication units. This is different with light pen because a light pen is just like a mouse that has a pointing device on the screen, while the digital pen has a pen that are used to select or can be able to write and even draw figures on the screen. Another hardware requirements is the notebook computers. Notebook computers are similar in shape with the laptops, but it is different in size. The notebook computers approximately has a measurement of 21 to 29.7 centimeters, and its weight is just 3 to 4 kilograms. This is also a requirements or hardware requirements that can be used in client server. Okay, next is the storage devices. The storage devices is refers to as the media and method used to keep information available for later use. If there are available storage devices that we have inside of the computer system and subdivided into two, it's either a RAM and a ROM. The storage devices also can be classified into different units, and a different example of storage devices are the magnetic tape, the magnetic disc, optical disc, the pen drives, the tape drives, and the zip drives. The difference among the storage devices is its sizes and how it is being developed, and also the memory capacity, the enablement of the storage devices. It is also one of the important component in client-server architecture that are able to store data, process data among different resources. Next is the network protection device. A network protection device is a term used to describe the methods and tools employed to prevent unauthorized and malicious access or modification on a system during the data transmission over network. So we usually use a network protection device when there are times that we need to secure our files and data. So what are the following protection that involves a network protection device? So the first one is the intrusion prevention. It also includes intrusion detection, the web filtering, the email security, the security management, integrated security appliance, and also the vulnerability assessment. Network protection devices are used to preemptively protect our computer network from different viruses, worms, and other internet attacks. It was classified into two. So the network protection device are classified by the use of the virtual private network. So what is a virtual private network? The use of virtual private network provides the ability for two offices to communicate with each other in such a way that it looks like they are directly connected over a private leased line. So the virtual private network commonly used by big corporation, organization that have different offices, and it is required for them to connect their location in one private leased line. Also, the network protection device are also important in wireless network protection. Okay, it usually for wireless network, but when applying a network protection in wireless, we are commonly used wired equivalent privacy encryption. So the wireless network protection cannot work alone or cannot be protected alone, but it should have a so-called WEP or wired equivalent privacy encryption. Okay, to have a total protection over a network. So let us proceed to the surge protectors. So what is a surge protectors? A surge is defined as a voltage increase or can be used as a protector against surges, electrical surges, and fluctuation by the use of the electricity. So why is it important in client server? Because when there are times that is in need for us to protect our files and our computer devices, it must have and must use as surge protectors. And one example of the surge protectors is the UPS, or the uninterruptible power supply. This kind of surge protector can able to protect against the problem of the power supply in terms of the power failure, the voltage sag, the voltage spike, also for the under voltage if we encounter brownouts, over voltage if there is increase of voltages over the electricity. Also, it can protect the line noise, the frequency variation, the switching transient, and the harmonic distortion. In hardware requirements, also the RAID technology are necessary. So what is a RAID? A RAID is also known as a redundant array of independent disks, or often incorrectly known as a redundant array of expensive disks. A RAID is classified or can be described as a system of using multiple hard drives for sharing or replicating data among different drives. The benefit of the RAID is to increase the data integrity, or it increases the data integrity, fault tolerance, throughput, or capacity compared to single drives. The hardware requirements also identify the important or the benefits of the server-specific jargon. In client-server environment, computers, like other workstations, with some configurational differences with processing speed, is measured through the use of the megahertz, and can be also measured in gigabytes if we are using the hard disk. The data transfer rates measured in milliseconds when the data is being transferred to another location. But apart from this, there are some server-specific jargon that are useful to know. And what are those? The first is the EDC memory, the memory cache, the rack mounting, and also we have the power protection and the symmetrical processing. So first is the EDC memory. The EDC memory are considered as the error detection and correction that are used to configured at the hardware level with a special circuitry that verifies the RAM output and resend output whenever the memory has an error or there is an error occurred during the process. So this is an error detection correction in server-specific jargon to identify and verify the circuitry of the RAM and provides an output whenever there is a memory error occurs. The second one is the memory cache. A memory cache is a set or a portion of the server RAM that store the most frequently used network instruction so that this instruction can be accessed as soon as possible. Number 3 is the rack mounting or the rack mount. It is usually referred to as a multiple server that's stacked on top of one another in single cabinet to save space. In case of very large client server, a system that requires more than a single file server, the rack mount can be used to centralize the complex and highly data in client server system. So the use of the rack mount is to save space in a single cabinet when there are times that we requires or the computer system requires a huge number of data. The next one is power protection. A power protection is very important in server-specific jargon, but this is different from the UPS because the power supply that we use in a unit that distributes electricity within the server, we usually use it or define to us as a redundant power supply that are used to back up power supply that takes over in the event that the main power supply fails. So the power protection are used to protect our power supply inside of the unit or the computer set or the computer system. It is different to UPS because the UPS is a power supply that are used externally, okay, via electricity or voltages. The next is the symmetrical processing. The SMP are used to integrate the power of more than one central processor into a single file server, along with necessary additional hardware and software to provide processing cores between them. The use of SMP involves the additional processing with two processors and manage the distribution of processing among multiple processors. The next is the software requirements. The software requirements involve or include the client operating system. The client always provides a presentation services, and all the user input and output are presented at client workstation. So the client operating system uses a local operating system to host both basic services and the network operating system interface. So there are various client operating system. The first is the DOS, the Windows 3.1. So all of these are example of client operating system. Aside from the DOS, Windows 3.1, we also have the operating system -2, the Unix, and the Windows New Technology. The client operating system or in client server, the client operating system is the requesters of services to the server provider or the services provider, which is the server. Along with client operating system, we also have service operating system. These servers provide the platform for application, database, and communication services. It also provides a control, shared access to server resources. Here in server operating system, applications is isolated from each other so that an error in one cannot damage another. Okay? So there are different examples in server for client server applications, and it include the high-end Intel, the RISC, the PowerPC, the HP, PA and RISC, SGI, and the MIPS. Also, we have the DEC Alpha. Okay, the next is the NetWare. Another software requirements is the NetWare. It was introduced in the year 2003. The NetWare is the provider and the successor of the product, NetWare. The NetWare, also known as a self-contained operating system that does not require separate operating system to run. Okay, it can be run independently without the supports of other operating system. The next software requirements is the operating system -2. The last release of OS-2 was in the year 1996 with a version of 4.0. It is the combination of the novel with an operating system -2 database and application servers that can provide the necessary environment for a production quality client-server implementation. Unlike with Unix, the OS-2 was built to be preemptively multitasking and would not run on a machine without the MMU. So the OS-2 is considered a multitasking or multi-user system. So pag sinasabi nating preemptive, when there is sharing of resources, sharing of data, and when we encounter kernel mode. And preemptive also identifies the consideration of the average waiting time of every processes that are need to be executed in the computer program by the use of the operating system. Okay, so preemptive is included or can be found in CPU scheduling or in central processing unit. When there is a need of scheduling of the program and processes. The next is the MVS. The MVS is an IBM flagship operating system that are used in mainframe computers as a platform and also for large applications. MVS is the only one operating system that could be considered older than Unix. I think the intended role of MVS has always been in the back office. Okay, like with VMS and Unix itself, the MVS predates the server-client distinction. Okay, the VMS is considered an open VMS or known as a multi-user. Can be also classified as multi-processing in virtual memory based operating system. This is designed for the use in time sharing, batch processing, real time. When there is a process, priorities can be set higher than operating system kernel jobs. The next operating system is the Unix. It was developed in the year 1969 by the group of 80 employees. It was designed to be portable, also multitasking and multi-user in time-sharing configuration. It is characterized by various concepts like the use of plain text for storing data, a hierarchical file system, treating devices and certain types of inter-process communication. Okay, this is commonly used for client-server architecture. In the development of the internet and the reshaping of computing as centered in network rather than in individual computers. The next is the network operating system. The given example is the novel NetWare. But the network operating system, this is a system software that controls a network and its message, example, a packet. Okay, it sometimes uses to control the traffic and queues over network, and also control the access by multiple users over the network resources and files, and also provide a certain administrative functions, including security. So the Novel NetWare is a network operating system developed by Novell Incorporated. The latest version of the NetWare is the v6.5 support with Pac7, which is identical to OS2 and NetWare kernel. So the next is a LAN manager. LAN manager supports the DOS, Windows, and OS-2. It usually supports different Windows operating system via local area connection. Okay, the provider of the LAN manager is the still the Microsoft Corporation that combine the computers, communication, and compatibility. So in setting up a LAN manager over a local area network requires a computer's communication and its compatibility over other devices. The next network operating system is the IBM LAN server. It is a network operating system also developed by IBM. It runs as a server application under OS-2 and support the DOS. Okay, among different types of operating system, the IBM LAN server can be used for operating system -2 and supports the DOS. Next is the Banyan Vines. In other words, the Banyan Vines is a network operating system with a Unix kernel. It supports the client and server architecture that allows client operating systems such as the DOS and OS-2, Windows to share information and resources with each other and with host computing systems. Aside from the software and hardware requirements, it is also important in client-server to identify the rules of communication interface technology. So the first example is the network interface card, or classified by the use of network interface card and other communication interface technology. So the communication interface technology for the data communication to be taking place in a network, it has a basic elements that are involved. The first one is the sender, the device that creates and transmits the data, or it is considered an input devices. The message, this is the data to be sent by the sender. The medium, the physical material that connects the devices, carries the data from sender to the receiver. And I think one of the example of the medium or middleware is the broker, okay, or the Cobra, okay, that are used to transmit a request from the server and provides a request from the client respond to the client via a network setup or by the use of a client-server architecture. So here in communication interface technology, aside from the sender, message, and medium, it also include another element, which is the receiver, the one who receives the data being transmitted by the sender. So in network interface card, the physical connection from the computer to the network is made by putting a network interface card inside the computer and connecting it to shared cable. Next is the LAN cabling. The use of the LAN cabling is a data communication network which connects many computers or client workstation and permits exchange of data and information among localized area over 2 to 5 kilometers. It usually used for a network setup over a single or a small area network connection. Okay, for small offices that has only a 2 to 5 kilometers. The WAN or the wide area network is a data communication network that covers a large geographical area such as the cities, states, or countries. This is commonly connected via internet connection. Okay? It involves the three layers, and that is the physical layer, the data link layer, and the network layer. The physical layer, this is, I think, hardware requirements or hardware devices which are used to transmit the data over a network by the use of network layer. Next is the ATM. ATM services are categorized into mainly two categories, and that is the real-time services and a non-real-time services. This is considered a connection-oriented technology in which a logical connection is established between the 2 points before the actual data exchange begin. Okay, as mentioned, it is used in real-time services. Okay, I know that we are familiar with the use of ATM and also can be used in non-real-time services. The next is the Ethernet. It is defined as a family of frame-based computer networking for local area network. That is also based on the idea of computers communicating over a shared cable acting as a broadcast transmission medium. The Ethernet or the communication methods in Ethernet are used in some similarities to radio systems. But the commonly used of Ethernet is in the setup of local area network connection. The next is the token ring. It was developed and promoted by the IBM. This is also a local area network protocol which resides at the data link layer. Okay, the transmission of the data where the token ring are located. It uses a special 3-byte frame called a token that travels around the ring. The token ring frames travel completely around the loop. Okay? The next is the FDDI. It is the one who provides the data transmission in a local area network that extend in a range up to 200 kilometers. In addition to covering a large geographical areas, the FDDI local area networks can support thousands of users. Not only that the FDDI are used in local area network connection, but can also support 1,000 of users. The TCP/IP is another communication interface technology that defines the convention by connecting different networks and routing traffic through routers, bridges, and other types of connection. The TCP/IP is the result of the research by DARPA before the invention of the internet. This is another form of communication interface technology in system development. Next is the SNMP. The SNMP exposes the management data in the form of variables on the managed system, which describe the system configuration. And also the SNP is a form of the Internet Protocol that defined by the Internet Engineering Task Force, or the IETF. It is used in a network management system to monitor network attached devices for conditions that warrant administrative attention. It consists of a set of standards for network management, including the application layer protocol, a database schema, and a set of data objects. So the SNMP are defined by the Internet Engineering Task Force, or the IETF. Okay, those who are applying or using internet or part of internet protocol. Next is the NFS. It is a network file system protocol originally developed by Sun Microsystem in 1984. The NFS is allowing user on a client computer to access files over a network as easily as if the network devices are attached to its local disk. Okay? So, this is what we consider the use of system in file transfer or sharing files via networks. Okay, the last is the SMTP, or the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It is the standard for email transmission across the internet developed during 1970s. I think the SMTP is a relatively simple text-based protocol in which one or more recipients of a message are specified. Okay? So, an example of SMTP is when a client-server protocol whereby transmit an email message to a server, either an end-user email client known as mail user agent relying server's mail transfer agent can act as SMTP client. Okay, so I think this is usually used in different corporation nowadays, that there are no need to respond. Okay, the employer message back to the sender, but because of the mail transfer agent, so act as an SMTP client can able to send message to the sender. Okay, and I think that's all with my report. Thank you and God bless everyone.